All right, we are back, and we're going to discuss lesson 12-6. I hope you guys are doing good. And we're going to learn the last two methods to prove if two triangles are congruent. So by the time we're done, we will know five ways to prove if two triangles are congruent, okay? And we'll review those completely all at the end. But before we get going, I want to review last lesson. Let's determine if two triangles can be congruent. If they can, use the information we know to prove that. Okay, so let's take a look at these two triangles right here. And when we do this, I'm actually going to write a congruent statement for it as well, if it works. If it doesn't work, you do not write congruent statements. Okay, so let's take a look. We have triangle ABC, and let's see if we can prove if it's congruent to triangle DEF. All right, well, on a triangle A, we have an angle, okay? And it's two marks on this side, or not angle, but we have a side mark, two sides, two marks, and we have a side marked DF with two marks. We also have a side mark CB with one mark and an EF with one mark. And then we also have an angle in between the two sides. So this one is side, angle, side. I actually like to do that kind of like that. So side, angle, and side. And you know what I'll do? I will mark it with a different color so it helps you. Side, angle, side. Now that A has nothing to do with that A. I'm just saying those are the acronyms or the letters that we use for proving if they're congruent. Let's see if this is the same. Side, angle, side. And it has to be the same markings. And it works. So this one is yes. Get this out of the way. So we'll say yes by side, angle, side. And then our statement could be triangle ABC. Now remember, it never matters how the first three letters are given. It only matters how the next three letters are given. A went from 2 to nothing, so 2 to nothing is D. B went from 1 to nothing, so 1 to nothing is E. And then C was the one that was marked, so F is the one that's marked, actually the angle. Now that one was pretty easy because the picture's not flipped over or turned, they're just side by side. It's when they're flipped over or turned that you really need to look at the markings the way I described it just right there to help you. So that one's yes by side, angle, side. This one, so let's take a look at what we've got. We've got two marks, one mark, and one angle mark, one angle mark. So it looks like it works. Let's just see if they're in the right positions. So side, side, angle. Side, side, angle. They're in the right spots, but this one is SSA, or you could turn around and say ASS, and we already know those don't work. So not congruent, or not this, not congruent, okay? Any questions on that? Okay, let's take a look at this one down here. I'll use green on this one. Okay, two marks, one mark, one angle in between, that works. Two marks, one mark, one angle in between, so side, angle, side, side, angle, side. So they're in the right positions. This one is side, angle, side. I'll get rid of this so I can see my letters now. So as you can see, I mean, I use those letters to help us, and then I get rid of them so I can actually see what I have to write. So yes by, and then triangle, let's go, CAB, congruent to triangle. Notice, it doesn't matter how I give the first three letters. C was nothing and 2, so F is nothing and 2. A is the mark, D is the mark, and then B obviously is the last one, E has to be the last one. It never matters how your first three letters go, it only matters how your next three letters go. So that one's true. All right, let's test this one. Well, there's no sides marked. There's no sides that are together. We can't mark anything. Anytime two pictures are completely separate, there's nothing you can personally mark. Only when you pull pictures apart can you mark a side. Only when you have vertical angles can you mark the angles. So because nothing else can be marked on this picture, all three angles on this one match all three angles from that one. That is not one that works. This is not one that works. Angle, angle, angle is not one that works. So we're going to say not congruent. In other words, it's not congruent. Does that make sense? All right. That's a good little review to bring us into this next spot. So we're going to talk about the two ways we can prove if two triangles are congruent. These are the last two. It's angle, side, angle, and it has to be included. I want to make sure that you understand that. In other words, the two angles like this, see that? The two angles and the side has to be right between them. That's the one we're looking at here. We'll do this one in a minute, okay? So if two angles of one triangle and the included side, that's the included side, is all marked on one picture and it's the same for the other, then the two triangles will be congruent by angle, side, angle. And it's like this. It's just like what I was showing you. Angle, side, angle. And it'll spell it out right for you, and it'll be right in a row if you'll just follow your markings. And then this one, angle, side, angle. And you can see it matches up, so it's good. Okay? All right, so let's go on and we'll do a couple of examples, then we'll do the next one. I want to show you this one before we go ahead to anything else though. This one, and this one can be tricky a little bit. So you got to make sure that you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how it works, which is the way it's drawn right now. And I'm going to show you one that won't work, even though it's got good markings. Okay? Angle, angle, side. Now, the important part here is that this one is not included. But I'm going to say not included, but it better be the correct non-included side. And I'll show you what I mean. So we've got an angle mark, and a non-included side from nothing to 2. It better be the same, nothing to 2 on the other one. Angle mark, and nothing to 2. Okay, nothing to the 2. What I mean when I'm saying 2, I'm saying 2 markings. So no markings to the 2 markings. That's the one that's marked. That's the same one that's marked there. This one's good to go. Let me draw one up for you that won't work. Okay, so I'm just going to make a triangle. I don't even need to make sure. I don't even need to label it. Just watch. One, now one mark, 2 marks. Now, the nothing and the 1 is where the side is. Watch. That will not work. This one will not work. Even though it's got all the correct markings, this one's in the wrong spot from the first one. So does not, my board's not writing very well, not work by angle, angle, side. This one is not angle, angle, side because the side that is marked is not the correct corresponding side. I hope that makes sense. Do not mix this one up. Do not mix this one up with the one up above that is the actual theorem, that is the one that works, okay? All right, let's jump ahead and see if we can figure this out. All right, I told you that you cannot just mark anything you want. You can only mark things when you pull a picture apart. We call that reflexive. When you have 2 angles that cross, that's vertical angles. Or if you have parallel lines. If you have parallel lines, you can actually do some markings. So let's go ahead and see if there's enough information to mark and tell us whether or not these triangles are congruent, okay? Can the triangles be proven by some of the theorems? Well, let's ask. Well, right now we have 1 mark right here. That one was already marked. This one was already marked. And then this side is marked. Okay, those were already marked. They do have an angle, and I'm going to do 2 of them. Those angles are vertical angles. I'm going to say yes by angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side. So, yes. Because it's the correct side is marked to the 2 marks and nothing, 2 marks and nothing. I hope that makes sense. That's exactly what I was showing you just a second ago. Okay, this one is just 3 angles are marked and 3 angles are marked. I cannot mark any other sides. Therefore, we do not know if these are congruent. Not congruent. This one does not work. All right, let's see what we've got. I've got 2 pictures slapped side by side. I'm going to pull them apart so I can figure out whether or not it works. So I'm going to draw the one picture exactly the way it looks. 2 marks are down here. 1 mark is up here. And now I'm going to mark the side that I pulled apart. So now watch. 2 marks on this one. 1 mark on that one. Now I'm going to put 1 mark there. That's the side we pulled apart. This is the side that was reflexive. This side is the same as this side. So do we have enough info? Let's find out. I have an angle, I have a side, and I have an angle. I have an angle, I have a side, and I have an angle. They match up. They are in the correct spots. This is yes by angle, side, angle. And we don't write a congruent statement on these because there's no point letters going around the vertices, okay? If there would have been, I would have wrote those congruent statements. Remember, a congruent statement is this. This is a congruent statement. You only write those, after you prove one is congruent, you only write them if the letters are on the pictures. Well, if you'll notice on this one, none of the letters are on the picture, so you don't have to write a congruent statement, okay? But every time there are letters and they are congruent, then you do have to write a congruent statement, okay? All right, let's see what we can prove. Can the triangles be proven with the information given on the diagram? If so, let's see what they can be proven by. Okay, well, all right, let's find out what we've got. Well, we do have parallel lines. We do have parallel lines, and we do have side that can be pulled apart. Parallel lines mean there's angles that are congruent. So this line is parallel to this one. Here's the transversal. So angle 1 will be matching with angle 3, you guys. Those are alternate interior angles. Now I'm going to use a different color. Angle 2 is parallel to this side. And so there's the transversal. Angle 2 will be congruent to angle 4. Okay, so right now we have enough angles marked. We have 2 on this one and 2 on that one, but we don't have a side marked unless you pull this apart. And so I'm going to do that over here real quick. So I'm going to take my picture. I'm going to just draw it the way it kind of looks. W, Y, and, oh, sorry. Better do that correctly. X, W, and Y. Okay, now I'm going to put 2 marks. 1, 2. I'm going to put 1 up top, 1, and then the side I pulled apart, I'm going to mark. All right, I'm going to recopy this picture. And I'm doing it exactly the way the picture shows it. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because, watch, I want to make sure when we write our statement, if these are congruent, that you understand how to flip the letters. So watch. All right, there's 2 markings on this one up here. There's 1 marking on this one right here because of the parallel lines. And then we marked our side that we pulled apart that's reflexive. So we have alternate interior angles. That's the green ones. That's the blue ones. Then we have reflexive with WY, which is congruent. And now we have angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. Notice I went angle, side, angle here, but then I went up here because I started with the green one. So I'm starting with the green one. That's why I love the colors. I think the colors help out a ton. So this is yes by angle, side, angle. And now I want to write a statement. So watch. Triangle. Now it doesn't matter how you start your first 3 letters. Pick any 3 letters you want. I'm just going to say X, W, X, Y. And that is going to be congruent. I'm going to write it a little bit lower so you guys don't. Triangle WXY is congruent to triangle. Now these 3 letters matter. W does not match W. W actually matches Y. X X matches Z because it's nothing and nothing. I say nothing as I mean no markings. And then Y on our original picture is 1 mark, so we've got to go W on the other one. That is why it's so important to follow the markings and letters. Okay, you guys? All right. Let's jump onto this one. See if we can write this out and see if we can prove it. Well, you cannot mark anything unless there's a reason. Remember, you have to have a reason. Parallel lines mean you can mark angles. Vertical lines, 2 lines that cross, mean you can mark angles. A side that can be pulled apart can be marked because it's reflexive. You got to go through those steps. You got to go through that process. Okay, so the first thing I see right off the bat is that I can mark this angle and this angle. We call those vertical angles. That's a reason. I didn't just mark it because I wanted to. I marked it because I can. Okay? Now, we do have parallel marks here and here. Here's the transversal. That means that this angle right here, and I'm going to go 2 marks with it, would be congruent to this angle right here because of alternate interior angles. We could have marked this angle or this one as well, but now that we have 2 angles marked and 1 side, we can test and see if it'll work. Well, the 2 angles and the non-included side. Notice it's not included between the 2 marks. So does it go to the correct angle? I believe it does. It has nothing to 1, nothing to 1. So I'm saying yes by angle, non-included side, and now we'll write a statement. Triangle. We'll just go ABD is congruent to triangle. Now watch the letters. A has 2 marks, E has 2 marks. B has 1 mark, B has 1 mark. D has nothing, C has nothing. That is the most important thing that you do. It never matters how you pick your first 3 letters, only matters how you pick your next 3 letters. Okay, we are almost there. Let's see if this diagram can be proved. If they are congruent, well, let's test it. All right, we do have a 90-degree angle at a 90, but right off the bat, I do not see the hypotenuse marked, and I don't see the hypotenuse marked, and I cannot mark them. Is there something I can mark on the picture? Yes, vertical angles. So I'm going to go 1 mark and 1 mark. Okay, so right now, we cannot do hypotenuse leg because the hypotenuse can't be marked, even though there is a leg marked and it's got a 90, so we've got to test one of the other ways. Let's see what's marked. We've got an angle, and a side that's in the middle. So that's included. So angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. So I'm saying angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. So it's yes by angle, side, angle. And let's make sure that statement's good to go. A, B, C, A, B, C. A was the 90. D is the 90. B is no mark at all. E is no mark at all. C is the same angle as C, and we're good to go. Okay? All right, let's see if we can prove if these 2 triangles are going to be congruent. Okay? Well, right off the bat, I see parallel markings cut by a transversal, so therefore I could mark an angle if I wanted to. That angle and that angle. Does that help me right now? 2 angles marked right off the bat. Yeah, that could work if we can mark one other side. And we do have a side that's together for both triangles, so when we pull it apart, we can mark it by reflexive. So I'm going to do that. So there's the original F, G, H, and this is the 90, and this angle is marked, and now I have this side marked. This is the other picture, and it is G, K, H, 1 mark, 90, and the piece we mark. Okay, well, let's see if it's enough stuff. It looks like we have 2 angles and a non-included side. Okay, 2 angles and a non-included side. It does have a 90, but I'm not going to test hypotenuse leg because look, only the hypotenuse is marked and there's no other legs marked, and you cannot mark them. You cannot mark them. These are parallel markings, not side markings. You have to make sure you understand the difference. So we have an angle, a non-included side. We'll do that in a color. Angle, non-included side. We have an angle, and a non-included side. So I'm going to say yes by angle, non-included side, and the statement, let's make sure their letters work. H is nothing at all. G better be nothing, it is. F is the 90, K better be the 90, it is. G is 1 mark, and H is 1 mark, and it works. So that statement's true. All right, we're to our last one. We're gonna see if we can prove if these two triangles are congruent by one of the theorems that we have. Okay? All right, so the first thing I'm looking at is, can there be anything I can mark? Remember, if the pictures are already separated completely, you cannot mark anything. These pictures are together, so there are vertical angles we can create, mark. Two marks. Notice I do marks that are not on the picture already to show you that they're different. Okay, so now we have 2 angles and a side, 2 angles and a side. Let's see if it's the correct stuff. So it's an angle, and a non-included side, and the non-included side is no mark to 1. Angle, non-included side. Now it is 2 then. 1 mark and nothing, same as that one. So this is yes. By angle, non-included side, and the statement is, let's see if it works. R is nothing, it better go to V, which is nothing, which it does. S is 1 mark, U better be 1 mark, and then obviously T and T is the same for both because they are marked, and we are good to go. Okay? So let's just review really quick what we know. We know that we can prove, this is the ways to prove. To prove 2 triangles congruent. You ready? We have side, side, side. We have side, angle, side. We then have angle, angle, side. We have angle, side, angle. And we have hypotenuse leg. Remember, this one, we only test when there's a 90. We only test this one when there's a 90. Only try, and I say try because it might not work. If it has a 90 degree angle. Okay? Because I want you to go back to the last one we just did, or 2 of them we just did. We looked at this when it had a 90, but we couldn't test hypotenuse leg. We couldn't test hypotenuse leg. So you've got to try one of the other methods before you just say, hey, it doesn't work. Now, what ones don't work? What ones do not work? Well, ASS doesn't work. Side, side, angle doesn't work. So it's really when you end up looking at this one. This is the one that you got to look at to be careful because you got to make sure that the letters all go in the right spots. This is another one that you got to look at and be careful because that one has to have the side going marked that's with the correct angle. And from there out, it's pretty straightforward. But those are the 5 ways we can prove if triangles are congruent, okay? Well, good luck with your lesson, and we'll see you next time.